Don't scroll. I know you're in shock. I know your heart is pounding. I know your mind is racing with questions you never thought you'd have to ask. Last night, they almost killed. Not a stranger. Someone you know. Someone you love. Someone you thought was safe. Not by accident. By intention. Not by a stranger. By someone close. The betrayal is deeper than you imagined. Not because the act is worse. Because the deception is worse. They hid it. Not from everyone. From you. You are the last to know. Not because you're not important. Because you're too important. They didn't want to hurt you. Not because they care. Because they're scared. Scared of your reaction. Scared of your wrath. Scared of your grief. But you need to know. Not to be destroyed. To be delivered. The truth will set you free. Not from pain. From deception. Not from hurt. From continued hurt. Not from the past. From its power over you. Last night, they almost killed. Not a stranger. Someone you love. Not a pet. A person. A human being. Made in my image. Not an animal. A person. Persons have value. Not because they're useful. Because they exist. Existence is enough. This person exists. Therefore they have value. Not because you love them. Because I do. I love them. Not because they're perfect. Because I am. I am love. Not a concept. A person. I am love. I love them. Last night, they almost died. Not by natural causes. By violence. Not by disease. By intention. Someone intended to kill them. Not in the heat of the moment. In cold blood. Cold blood is not passion. Cold blood is calculation. They calculated. Not quickly. Slowly. They planned. Not carelessly. Carefully. They were careful. Careful to hide. Careful to deceive. Careful to cover their tracks. But I am not fooled. I see everything. Not because I'm watching. Because I am. I am. Not a concept. A person. I am everywhere. Not in a place. In all places. I saw. Not the act only. The planning. The planning was secret. Not from me. From you. You didn't know. Not because you're stupid. Because you're trusting. Trusting people don't expect betrayal. Not because they're naive. Because they're good. Good people assume good in others. They assumed good in you. They were wrong. They are not good. Not because they're evil. Because they're broken. Broken people do broken things. They almost killed. Not because they're murderers. Because they're out of control. Out of control people destroy. Not because they want to. Because they can't stop. They lost control. Not gradually. Suddenly. Like a dam breaking. Not because the dam was weak. Because the pressure was too much. The pressure of anger. The pressure of jealousy. The pressure of pain. They have been in pain. Not because of you. Because of life. But they took their pain out on someone else. Not because they deserved it. Because they were there. Proximity is not guilt. The victim is not guilty. Not of the act. Not of the anger. Not of the pain. The victim was there. Not because they chose to be. Because they loved. Love stays. Even when it shouldn't. Even when it hurts. They stayed. Not because they were weak. Because they were loving. Love stays. But staying has a cost. They almost paid with their life. Not because they deserved it. Because the attacker lost control. Control was lost. Not by the victim. By the attacker. The attacker is responsible. Not the victim. You are not the attacker. You are not the victim. You are the observer. Not powerless. Prayerful. Prayer is not passive. Prayer is powerful. Powerful not for control. For release. Release them to me. I will handle them. Not with your anger. With my justice. My justice is perfect. Not harsh. Perfect. It will correct. It will restore. It will redeem. Not necessarily the attacker. The victim. The victim needs healing. Not from you. From me. I am the healer. Not a concept. A person. I heal. Not because the victim deserves it. Because I am good. Good heals. The victim is wounded. Not mortally. Seriously. Serious wounds take time to heal. Not because I am slow. Because humans are human. And humans need time. Time to process. Time to grieve. Time to heal. Give them time. Not your timeline. Theirs. They may not heal quickly. Not because they're weak. Because the wounds are deep. Deep wounds take time. Be patient. Not with your expectations. With your presence. Be present. Not with your words. With your silence. Silence is not empty. Silence is presence. They need presence. Not words. Words can't fix this. Only love can. Love is not words. Love is presence. Be present. Not with your phone. With your heart. Be present. And let your presence be healing. Not because you're powerful. Because you care. Caring is powerful. Not like words. Like presence. Presence says, you matter. They need to know they matter. Not because they almost died. Because they live. They live. Not by luck. By my hand. I protected them. Not because they're special. Because I am. I am protector. Not a concept. A person. I protect. Not from all harm. From eternal harm. Eternal harm is separation. Not from people. From me. They are not separated from me. Not because they're good. Because I am. I am good. Not a concept. A person. I am good. I am with them. Not watching from a distance. Walking beside them. Every step. Even the steps that feel like falling. I am with them. So take a breath. Put your phone down on a flat surface if you need to. Put your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. I put it there. I am keeping it beating. And I am about to tell you what happened. Listen to me. Your heart needs this right now. Let me tell you what happened last night. Not the details, those are between them and the law. The heart of it. The attacker came. Not announced. Unexpected. Not with a warning. With a weapon. A weapon. Not a fist. A blade. A blade is not a hand. A blade is steel. Steel cuts. Not paper. Flesh. Flesh bleeds. Not ink. Blood. Blood is life. Not a metaphor. A reality. Blood is life. Last night, blood almost spilled. Not on the ground. On the floor. The floor of a home. Not a stranger's home. Their home. Home is supposed to be safe. Not a battlefield. Last night, home became a battlefield. Not because of the victim. Because of the attacker. The attacker brought the battle. Not with an army. With anger. Anger is a weapon. Not visible. Effective. Effective weapons kill. Not always bodies. Always peace. Peace died last night. Not completely. Partially. Peace is wounded. Not beyond repair. Wounded. Wounds can heal. Not by ignoring. By facing. Face the truth. Not with anger. With courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is fear that has said its prayers. Say your prayers. Not for revenge. For healing. Healing is not revenge. Healing is restoration. Restore peace. Not by pretending. By processing. Process the pain. Not alone. With help. Help is not weakness. Help is wisdom. Wisdom knows when to ask. Ask for help. Not from strangers. From professionals. Professionals are not shameful. Professionals are skilled. Skilled people help. Not because they're paid. Because they're called. Calling is not a job. Calling is a purpose. They have purpose. Not to judge. To heal. Healing is not judging. Healing is listening. Listen to them. Not with your ears only. With your heart. Your heart is not a drum. Your heart is a receiver. Receive. Not with fear. With hope. Hope is not naive. Hope is trust. Trust that I am working. Not on your timeline. On theirs. But I am working. The victim will heal. Not because you fix them. Because I am the healer. I heal. Not overnight. But truly. One layer at a time. As they spend time with me. As they read my word. As they pray. As they worship. Healing comes. Not because they're trying. Because I am working. In them. Through them. For them. Because they are mine. And I heal what is mine. So pray. Not for the attacker's punishment. For the victim's healing. Healing is not punishment. Healing is restoration. Restore them. Not by your power. By mine. I am the restorer. Not a concept. A person. I restore. Not because they deserve it. Because I am good. Good restores. They will be restored. Not to who they were. To who they are becoming. Becoming is not returning. Becoming is growing. Growth is not easy. Growth is painful. But growth is necessary. Necessary is not optional. They must grow. Not because I demand it. Because they are created for growth. Like a seed. Like a child. Like a tree. Not growing is dying. They almost died. Not physically. Spiritually. Their spirit was wounded. Not beyond repair. Wounded. Wounds can heal. Not by ignoring. By tending. Tend to them. Not with your hands. With your heart. Your heart is not a muscle. Your heart is a person. You are a person. Persons have hearts. Not organs. Emotions. Emotions are not weakness. Emotions are humanity. You are human. Humans have emotions. Not to suppress. To express. Express your feelings. Not to the victim. To me. I can handle your feelings. Not because I'm strong. Because I am. I am. Not a concept. A person. I am. Give me your feelings. Not your anger. Your grief. Grief is not anger. Grief is sadness. Sadness is not weakness. Sadness is love. Love grieves. Not because it's lost. Because it's present. Present is not absent. Presence is love. You love the victim. Not because they're perfect. Because they're yours. Yours are loved. Not because they earn it. Because you give it. You give love. Not because you have to. Because you want to. Wanting is not duty. Wanting is desire. Desire is not bad. Desire is human. You are human. Humans desire. Not only for themselves. For others. You desire healing for the victim. Not because you're selfish. Because you're loving. Love desires healing. Not for your comfort. For their wholeness. Wholeness is not comfort. Wholeness is health. They need health. Not physical. Spiritual. Their spirit is sick. Not because I made it sick. Because they were attacked. Attack wounds. Not the body only. The spirit. Their spirit is wounded. Not beyond repair. Wounded. Wounds can heal. Not by ignoring. By tending. Tend to them. Not with your hands. With your heart. Your heart is not a muscle. Your heart is a person. You are a person. Persons have hearts. Not organs. Emotions. Emotions are not weakness. Emotions are humanity. You are human. Humans have emotions. Not to suppress. To express. Express your feelings. Not to the victim. To me. I can handle your feelings. Not because I'm strong. Because I am. I am. Not a concept. A person. I am. Give me your feelings. Not your anger. Your grief. Grief is not anger. Grief is sadness. Sadness is not weakness. Sadness is love. Love grieves. Not because it's lost. Because it's present. Present is not absent. Presence is love. You love the victim. Not because they're perfect. Because they're yours. Yours are loved. Not because they earn it. Because you give it. You give love. Not because you have to. Because you want to. Wanting is not duty. Wanting is desire. Desire is not bad. Desire is human. You are human. Humans desire. Not only for themselves. For others. You desire healing for the victim. Not because you're selfish. Because you're loving. Love desires healing. Not for your comfort. For their wholeness. Wholeness is not comfort. Wholeness is health. They need health. Not physical. Spiritual. Their spirit is sick. Not because I made it sick. Because they were attacked. Attack wounds. Not the body only. The spirit. Their spirit is wounded. Not beyond repair. Wounded. Wounds can heal. Not by ignoring. By tending. Tend to them. Not with your hands. With your heart. Your heart is not a muscle. Your heart is a person. You are a person. Persons have hearts. Not organs. Emotions. Emotions are not weakness. Emotions are humanity. You are human. Humans have emotions. Not to suppress. To express. Express your feelings. Not to the victim. To me. I can handle your feelings. Not because I'm strong. Because I am. I am. Not a concept. A person. I am. Give me your feelings. Don't scroll. Stay with me. This is where most people want to hold on to their feelings. Don't. Here's what you need to do now. Not investigate. Support. Your instinct will be to investigate. To find out who. To find out why. Don't. Not because you're not curious. Because investigation is not your job. Your job is support. Not for the police. For the victim. The victim needs support. Not your questions. Your presence. Presence is not investigation. Presence is love. Love supports. Not with answers. With ears. Ears are not for gathering information. Ears are for listening. Listen. Not to the details. To the pain. The pain needs to be heard. Not analyzed. Heard. Hearing is healing. Not because you have solutions. Because you have ears. Use them. Listen. Not with your mind. With your heart. Your heart is not a computer. Your heart is a person. You are a person. Persons have hearts. Not for solving. For feeling. Feel with them. Not their pain. Their presence. Presence is not pain. Presence is love. Love feels. Not because it's easy. Because it's real. Real is not easy. Real is right. Right is not easy. Right is right. Choose right. Not investigation. Support. Support the victim. Not with your words. With your presence. Be present. And let your presence be healing. Don't scroll. Part 2 is here. And if you made it through Part 1, if you stayed when the truth about last night was revealed, then you're ready for what comes next. Because Part 1 was about the night. The attack. The almost death. The shock. The pain. Part 2 is about walking through the aftermath and into healing. Not in your strength. In mine. Not overnight. Over time. But surely. The aftermath is here. Not the attack. The aftermath. The attack is over. Not the pain. The act. The act is past. Not the consequences. The act. The act is done. Not the healing. The act. The act is over. Now comes healing. Not automatic. Chosen. Healing is a choice. Not a feeling. A decision. Decide to heal. Not when you feel like it. When you need to. You need to heal. Not because you're weak. Because you're wounded. Wounded people need healing. Not from ignoring. From tending. Tend to the wound. Not with your hands. With your heart. Your heart is not a muscle. Your heart is a person. You are a person. Persons have hearts. Not organs. Emotions. Emotions are not weakness. Emotions are humanity. You are human. Humans have emotions. Not to suppress. To express. Express your feelings. Not to the victim. To me. I can handle your feelings. Not because I'm strong. Because I am. I am. Not a concept. A person. I am. Give me your feelings. Not your anger. Your grief. Grief is not anger. Grief is sadness. Sadness is not weakness. Sadness is love. Love grieves. Not because it's lost. Because it's present. Present is not absent. Presence is love. You love the victim. Not because they're perfect. Because they're yours. Yours are loved. Not because they earn it. Because you give it. You give love. Not because you have to. Because you want to. Wanting is not duty. Wanting is desire. Desire is not bad. Desire is human. You are human. Humans desire. Not only for themselves. For others. You desire healing for the victim. Not because you're selfish. Because you're loving. Love desires healing. Not for your comfort. For their wholeness. Wholeness is not comfort. Wholeness is health. They need health. Not physical. Spiritual. Their spirit is wounded. Not beyond repair. Wounded. Wounds can heal. Not by ignoring. By tending. Tend to them. Not with your hands. With your heart. So take a breath. Stay with me. Don't scroll. Because what I'm about to tell you is going to help you walk through the aftermath and into healing. Listen to me. Your heart needs this right now. Here is the first thing you need to do to walk through the aftermath. Don't blame yourself. Your instinct will be to blame yourself. To ask, what if? What if I had been there? What if I had called? What if I had noticed? Stop. You weren't there. Not because you didn't care. Because you couldn't be. You cannot be everywhere. Not because you're weak. Because you're human. Humans are limited. Not by choice. By nature. You are not God. I am God. Not a concept. A person. I am God. I am everywhere. Not because I try. Because I am. I am. Not a concept. A person. I am everywhere. You are not. Not because you're bad. Because you're human. Humans are not God. You are human. You did nothing wrong. You loved. Love is not wrong. You trusted. Trust is not wrong. You hoped. Hope is not wrong. You are not responsible for the attack. The attacker is responsible, not you. So stop blaming yourself. Not because you're perfect. Because you're innocent. Innocent of the attack. Not innocent of everything. Innocent of this. You did not cause it. You could not stop it. You are not responsible. So forgive yourself. Not with your feelings. With your will. Choose to forgive yourself. Even if you don't feel like it. Feelings follow choices. Choose. And forgive yourself. Not once. Every day. As the self-blame rises, forgive yourself again. And again. Until the blame loses its power. Self-forgiveness is not a one-time event. It is a process. A process that leads to freedom. Your freedom. So forgive yourself. Not because you're perfect. Because you're forgiven. By me. Now forgive yourself. Don't scroll. Stay with me. This is where most people want to blame themselves. Don't. Here is the second thing you need to do to walk through the aftermath. Don't isolate. Your instinct will be to hide. To withdraw. To pull away from everyone. Not because you're antisocial. Because you're hurt. Even though you did nothing wrong, hurt comes. Hurt says, hide. But hiding is not the answer. Isolation will only make the hurt worse. It will give you too much time to think. To spiral. To believe the lies. So don't isolate. Stay connected. To me. To your true friends. To your community. Not to everyone. To the ones who love you. Let them in. Let them support you. Let them remind you of who you really are. Not who the attacker made you feel. Who I say you are. Don't isolate. Reach out. Not to explain. To be known. Not to defend. To be loved. Not to justify. To be held. Reach out. And let love be your shelter. Not isolation. Love. Listen to me. Your heart needs this right now. Here is the third thing you need to do to walk through the aftermath. Get support for yourself. Not for the victim. For yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Your cup is empty. Not because you didn't have enough. Because you gave too much. You gave your heart. Not to the attacker. To the victim. Your heart is with the victim. Not because you're codependent. Because you love. Love gives. But giving without receiving depletes. You are depleted. Not because you're weak. Because you're human. Humans need to receive. Not just give. Receive support. Not from the victim. From others. Others can give. Not because they're stronger. Because they're not as close. Closeness is not strength. Closeness is vulnerability. You are vulnerable. Not because you're weak. Because you love. Love is vulnerable. Vulnerable people need support. Get support. Not from strangers. From safe people. Safe people are not strangers. Safe people are trusted. Trusted people don't judge. Trusted people listen. Listen. Not to give advice. To hear you. You need to be heard. Not by the victim. By someone. Someone who will listen without fixing. Fixing is not listening. Fixing is controlling. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be heard. Heard people heal. Not because they get answers. Because they get presence. Presence is healing. Get support. Not tomorrow. Today. Reach out. There is someone who loves you and wants to help. Let them. Don't scroll. This is where everything shifts. Here is the fourth thing you need to do to walk through the aftermath. Don't seek revenge. Your instinct will be to want revenge. To want the attacker to suffer. Don't. Not because they don't deserve it. Because vengeance is mine. Vengeance is mine, not yours. Not because you're not capable. Because revenge will poison you. Revenge feels good briefly. Then it destroys. Not the attacker. You. So do not seek revenge. Seek justice. Justice is not revenge. Justice is accountability. The attacker must be held accountable. Not by you. By the system. The system is not perfect. The system is real. Real is not perfect. Real is effective. Trust the system. Not because it's fair. Because it's there. The system will do what it can. Not because it's perfect. Because it's necessary. Necessary is not optional. The attacker must face consequences. Not because you hate them. Because they need to learn. Learning is not punishment. Learning is growth. They need to grow. Not because they're evil. Because they're broken. Broken people need healing. Not from you. From me. I am the healer. Not a concept. A person. I heal. Not because they deserve it. Because I am good. Good heals. Pray for their healing. Not for their punishment. Punishment is not your concern. Your concern is your healing. Heal. Not by seeking revenge. By seeking peace. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of me. I am peace. Not a concept. A person. I am peace. I give peace. Not because you deserve it. Because I am good. Good gives. Receive peace. Not from revenge. From me. I am the source. Come to me. Not to the attacker. They are not your source. I am. Listen to me. Your heart needs this right now. Here is the fifth thing you need to do to walk through the aftermath. Pray for the victim. Not for their anger. For their healing. Healing is not anger. Healing is wholeness. They need wholeness. Not physical. Spiritual. Their spirit is wounded. Not beyond repair. Wounded. Wounds can heal. Not by ignoring. By tending. Tend to them. Not with your hands. With your prayers. Prayer is not passive. Prayer is powerful. Powerful not for control. For healing. Healing is not control. Healing is release. Release them to me. I will heal them. Not on your timeline. On theirs. But I will heal them. If they are willing. If they are not, I will not force. Love does not force. But I will draw. Draw them not to anger. To peace. Peace is not a feeling. Peace is a person. I am peace. Not a concept. A person. I am peace. I draw them to myself. Not because they're good. Because I am good. Good draws. Pray they come. Not because you want them to forgive. Because you want them to live. Live is not survive. Live is thrive. They will thrive. Not because the attack didn't hurt. Because I am with them. I am with them. Not watching from a distance. Walking beside them. Every step. Even the steps that feel like falling. I am with them. Pray. Don't scroll. Stay with me. We're halfway through part 2. Here is the 6th thing you need to do to walk through the aftermath. Take care of your body. Your body has been through trauma. Not the attack. The aftermath. The aftermath is trauma. Not physical. Emotional. Emotional trauma affects the body. Not because the body is weak. Because the body is connected. Connected to the soul. Your soul is wounded. Not beyond repair. Wounded. Wounds affect the body. Not directly. Indirectly. You may not sleep. You may not eat. You may not move. These are symptoms. Not of weakness. Of wounding. You are wounded. Not because you're weak. Because you love. Love wounds. Not because love is bad. Because love is vulnerable. Vulnerable people get wounded. You are wounded. Now you need to heal. Not your soul only. Your body. Your body is the temple of my spirit. Not a metaphor. A reality. Your body is my temple. Not a building. A body. Your body. I live there. Not because you're clean. Because I am. I am clean. Not a concept. A person. I am clean. I live in you. Not because you deserve it. Because I love you. I love you. Not because you're perfect. Because I am. I am love. Not a concept. A person. I am love. I love you. Take care of your body. Not as a distraction. As an act of worship. Worship is not singing. Worship is honoring. Honor my temple. Not with perfection. With attention. Attention is not obsession. Attention is care. Care for your body. Sleep. Eat. Move. Rest. Not because you're healthy. Because you're healing. Healing requires health. Not perfection. Health. Health is not the absence of symptoms. Health is the presence of life. You have life. Not because you're strong. Because I am. I am life. Not a concept. A person. I am life. I live in you. Take care of my home. Not for me. For you. You need a healthy home. Not for my comfort. For your healing. Heal. Not by ignoring your body. By tending to it. Tend to your body. Not with medicine only. With rest. Rest is not laziness. Rest is trust. Trust that I am working. Not because you're doing nothing. Because I am doing everything. I am the healer. Not a concept. A person. I heal. Rest in me. Not from responsibility. From striving. Striving is not healing. Striving is exhausting. You are exhausted. Not because you're weak. Because you've been striving. Stop striving. Start resting. Rest in me. Not in your bed only. In your heart. Your heart is my resting place. Not a building. A heart. Your heart. I rest there. Not because you're peaceful. Because I am. I am peace. Not a concept. A person. I am peace. I rest in you. Rest in me. Don't scroll. We're almost through part 2. Here is the 7th thing you need to do to walk through the aftermath. Trust me. Not in your understanding. In my character. Not in your plan. In my presence. Not in your strength. In my power. Trust me. Not because you have all the answers. Because I do. Not because you can see the future. Because I can. Not because you're strong enough. Because I am. Trust me. And peace will come. Not because the attack didn't happen. Because your focus shifts. From the attack to me. And I am peace. So trust me. Not once. Every moment. As fear rises, trust. I trust you, God. I don't understand. I don't see the way. But I trust you. That prayer is peace. Not because it changes your circumstances. Because it changes you. It aligns your heart with mine. And alignment brings peace. Trust me. And find peace.